Greetings, everyone. Today is October 15th, Thursday, 2025, and we are here in Warsaw. My name is Jed Distler. I'm the official Chopin Competition blogger for Gramophone magazine, and welcome to our daily video Chopin report from the 19th International Chopin Competition in Warsaw. And it's a foggy day in Warsaw town, and who will win the Chopin crown? Well, we had 7 pianists on our first day of the Stage 3 semifinal rounds yesterday. And as it happened, the day's first and most consistently satisfying performer was Jack Gao. And if you ask me which musician of the past few years has the best cello sound today, I would tell you Jack Gao. Even though he's a pianist, he still has the best cello sound on the piano. You know, the sustaining power and the kaleidoscope of colors that he gets out of the Kawai grand piano, I mean, it just beggars belief, especially when you hear him in the hall. I mean, it sounds wonderful on the live stream, but it is nothing like hearing him in the hall. And everything that he played in his set sang out with unalloyed beauty and real musical depth, I think, from the opening berceuse and the G-flat impromptu to a fabulous set of the 4 mazurkas from Opus 33. And he ended his set with a beautifully multi-layered Chopin B minor sonata. And gosh, those bass notes in the Largo movement sounded as if a pipe organist had snuck into the hall, sight unseen, and joined in. This really was world-class piano playing on every level and world-class music making. And by the way, just as an aside, Jack Gao plays the bejesus out of Olivier Messiaen's music. I heard him once play the 10th piece from Messiaen's monumental song cycle, not monumental piano cycle, what am I saying? The 20 Regards sur l'Enfant Jésus. And after hearing him play this, I thought, holy moly, Messiaen would have just flipped his lid over this. Next, Eric Guo played, and he showed us that he probably is the most idiomatic and sympathetic mazurka player to have emerged so far in this competition. He played all 3 pieces from the Opus 59 mazurka set with such innate idiomatic understanding and sophistication, where the polyphony just moved over the bar line all the time. Just really sophisticated and discerning piano playing. And you remember he played the Opus 17 mazurkas, which is an earlier set, in his Stage 2 recital, and that was equally amazing. I would encourage Eric Guo to march into the recording studio right away, I mean after the competition, and record the complete mazurkas. I mean, if he decides to do that, I'm going to be first in line to buy them or download them or stream them or however you have to get your music these days. So you hear me, Eric Guo, I want a complete Chopin mazurka cycle from you, and I want it now. I want it now, 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 now. However, I have to say that this pianist seemed just a little bit unsettled in the B-flat minor scherzo and in the first 2 movements of the Funeral March Sonata. But he did play the Funeral March to perfection. There were a lot of interpretive choices that he seemed to be exploring in that movement, as if he wasn't quite sure how he wanted it to go, but it was still very beautiful. But he played that spooky unison finale to utter perfection. On the other hand, the Funeral March Sonata really seemed to be an ideal vehicle for David Krikuli's forceful and highly finished virtuosity. And he's a pianist who likes to shape music in sections, meaning that you have a certain type of articulation here, sharp and scintillating fast runs there, you have muted coloration in another place. So if Jack Gow is a painter of big canvases, then I would say that David Krikuli forges marble sculptures in all kinds of shapes and sizes. And in this sense, his playing reminds me a lot of the great Russian pianist Emil Gilels, because he shares that same sense of projecting large time scale, and he has that same penetrating sonority and mega secure fingers. I thought David Krikuli's Opus 56 mazurkas and the A-flat Waltz, Opus 42, kind of lacked charm, although he probably gave that waltz its most polished and speediest performance of the entire competition. And there were amazing details also in the fourth scherzo, which is a piece that works best if you keep it very tight and very light and very supple. There really isn't any room for heavy, emphatic fourth scherzos, because otherwise the piece will just die on the vine. Now, you remember the other day I was ranting and raving and doing somersaults after hearing Shiori Kuwahara's A-flat Polonaise in her stage number 2 recital? Well, Kuwahara's stage 3 recital was equally wonderful, and I can only describe her as, I guess, Arthur Rubinstein incarnate, because her sound and her phrasing are so full-bodied and natural and generous. Now, she did not deliver the most supple scherzo number 3 on the block, I admit, but her mazurkas, Opus 33, just sang out to the rafters, and her B minor sonata also was wonderful. If Jack Gow's B minor sonata is something that will appeal to connoisseurs of great piano playing, then Shiori Kuwahara's interpretation, I think, is more for the people. Now, I'm kind of simplifying here, but what I mean is that I felt that every musical idea led into the next one with the most organic and natural sounding, yet inevitable transitions. This is piano playing that never stops singing. Now, maybe her sonata finale was a little emphatic for my taste, and some details kind of bogged down in the heat of the battle, but I'm just being nitpicky. Look, this is such healthy, uncluttered, and unmannered piano playing, and you can tell that Shiori Kuwahara is not one who's going out to impress. She's out there to share the music and share her heart. I mean, how can you not love this pianist, honestly? I still feel that both of the Lee brothers, Hyo Lee and Hyuk Lee, are works in progress, artistically speaking, although both of them unquestionably can get around the piano like nobody's business. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in stage 3, obviously. Now, I discussed their stage 3 recitals in great detail in my Gramophone blog that probably has been uploaded by the time you see this. So I invite you to go read that and check out my details about what I heard in their performances. So I will defer to my written comments. However, I honestly loved every note that Tianyu Lee played in his stage 3 recital, concluding the evening. And this 21-year-old pianist has a gift for projecting melodies and keeping these melodies alive and afloat at all times. And I have to admit that I enjoyed his playing in the first 2 stages, but it's really in stage 3 that I really connected with him, or perhaps I was just listening better than I had in the past. Now, I want to mainly discuss his performance at the Laci Darem variations, Opus 2, which have cropped up a few times in the competition. Now, his performance was not the competition's flashiest interpretation by any means, and not the most virtuosically scintillating. But, you know, like the tortoise in the race, he winds up getting to the finish line first, because there was an inherent musicality and a prevalent operatic subtext in his music making that came out in the performance. And I think that the results had much more substance and more meaning than in the other performances that I heard, as technically impressive as they were. Tianlu Li's Opus 2 just sang and sang and sang. And you know how Chopin just adored great singing. He loved the bel canto operas of Bellini. He loved Mozart. And you hear this love in Tianlu Li's Chopin Opus 2, and in all of his other Chopin interpretations, for that matter, in Stage 3. I have no clue if he's going to make it into the finals, but I really did connect with his music making in Stage 3, and I look forward to hearing this pianist again and again in the future. From Warsaw, this is Jed Distler, and you've been watching the Chopin Report directly from the 19th International Chopin Competition, and we will be back tomorrow with another Stage 3 recap. So until next time, take good care, stay well, and please be kind.